Welcome to the deep dive. You know that feeling, don't you? Just completely overwhelmed by information when you're trying to get a real handle on something specific. Well, that's what we do here. We sift through it, all the research, the data, and pull out the essential stuff, the insights you actually need. Today, we're diving deep into the IELTS reading section. It often feels like this really intimidating maze, timed, dense text. But what if it's less about just reading faster and more about, well, smart strategy? That's our mission for you today. Get you equipped to navigate and really master it. So by the end of this, you'll understand the test inside out, know the common traps, learn efficient reading techniques, handle all the question types, manage your time, and even build up that reading stamina. Get ready. We're aiming to turn that daunting feeling into focus and confidence. Okay, so let's start mapping this out, the IELTS reading test. What exactly is it? What are the key pieces?
Right. Well, think of it as a test of how strategically you can pull out information. There are basically two main flavors. You've got the academic version, which uses more complex sort of analytical texts, think academic journals, research papers, that kind of thing. Then there's the general training version. That focuses more on everyday texts like advertisements, maybe company handbooks, newspaper articles. Both versions give you 3 reading passages, and structure-wise, it's 40 questions total. Each one's worth 1 mark. Simple enough. But here's the kicker, and this catches so many people out. You get 60 minutes for the entire section, and that includes transferring your answers to the answer sheet.
Wait, 60 minutes total? For reading and transferring, no extra time.
Exactly. None. 0 extra time just for bubbling in answers. So you got to be really disciplined, basically writing answers as you go or right after each passage. It's designed to mimic that real world time pressure,
Wow, okay. That no extra time thing sounds like a potential nightmare if you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
So it's clearly not just about reading speed then. What specific skills are they really testing?
Precisely. It's much more about being a strategic, efficient reader. They're assessing a whole range of skills. Can you quickly get the main point, the gist of a passage? How well can you scan to find specific details, names, dates, numbers? Can you spot the difference between facts and opinions? Can you match ideas to the right parts of the text? And crucially, can you follow the logical thread of an argument as it develops? It's definitely less about reading every single word and much more about reading smartly, selectively.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay, here's a little something for you listening. If you happen to have an old IELTS practice test lying around, maybe just flip through the reading section now. Just glance at the headings, subheadings, notice any words that jump out, maybe seem a bit unusual.
Yeah, good idea. And on that point about unusual words, seriously, don't panic if you see vocabulary you don't know. The test is actually designed so you don't need a perfect vocabulary. Relying too much on individual words can even be a trap. The real skill is understanding the main ideas and figuring out meaning from the context around the word. We'll definitely get into that more.
Okay, brilliant. Now, here's where I think it gets really interesting. Lots of people put in the hours, but they keep hitting the same roadblocks in the reading section because of, well, hidden mistakes. Habits they don't even realize are hurting them. Let's shine a big spotlight on 5 of these common traps so you can consciously avoid them.
Absolutely. Knowing these is the first step, isn't it? So mistake number 1, and it's a big one, reading the entire passage, word for word, line by line. It feels thorough, but it's a massive time sink. Plus, it actually kind of overloads your brain, making it harder to see the main points. Your brain naturally looks for the gist first. Forcing it to process every word slows that down.
Okay, so don't read everything. Got it. What's next?
Second mistake. Not underlining or somehow marking the keywords in the questions. This is so important for focus. Without those visual anchors, your eyes just kind of drift over the text and you forget what specific piece of information you're actually searching for. It keeps you targeted.
Like highlighting your target. Makes sense.
Third, trying to answer every question in strict numerical order. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even if question 3 is really hard, this is a psychological trap. You burn maybe 5 minutes on one tough question that's still only worth 1 mark, and then you're stressed and rushed for the easier ones later. Skip the hard ones initially.
Okay, come back to it if there's time. Smart.
Fourth mistake. Changing answers at the very last minute without a really solid logical reason. That second guessing. Often, your first gut feeling, based on your initial scan and understanding, is actually correct. Unless you find clear, undeniable evidence in the text that proves your first answer wrong, trust that initial instinct. Overthinking causes errors here.
Yeah, I can see that. Doubting yourself under pressure.
And finally, number 5. Ignoring the word limit in gap fill questions. If the instructions say no more than 2 words and you write 3, even if the information is correct, the answer is marked wrong. It's about precision and following instructions to the letter. That's part of what's being tested too.
Wow, those are definitely things to watch out for. I can see how easily people fall into those patterns. So for you listening, really think about these. Maybe even write them down. Next time you do a practice run, be mindful. Ask yourself, am I doing any of these? It's about working smarter, not just harder, right?
Exactly. Self-awareness is key.
So if reading every single word isn't the way to go, what is the secret? How do you pull out the information you need quickly and accurately from these texts?
It boils down to mastering 3 core reading skills: skimming, scanning, and reading for detail. It's like having different gears for reading. First, skimming. Think of this as your reconnaissance flyover. You're looking quickly at titles, headings, maybe the first and last sentences of each paragraph. The goal isn't deep understanding, it's to quickly get the main topic of each section, the overall structure. You should aim for maybe 10-15 seconds per paragraph for this. And a good tip is to use your pencil, circle, or underline a few key topic words as you skim. It just helps anchor the main ideas visually.
Okay, so skimming is for the big picture, the layout. What's next?
Next is scanning. This is completely different. This is your targeted search, like word hunting. You are not reading for meaning here. Your eyes are moving really fast across the lines, looking for specific things, names, numbers, dates, places, those keywords you identified from the question. It's like your eyes are laser beams searching for a specific shape or word.
Right, zeroing in, like using Searle plus F in your head.
Exactly. And then finally, there's reading for detail. This is where you do slow down, and this is crucial only after you've used skimming and scanning to pinpoint the exact part of the text that likely contains your answer. Once you've found that sentence or phrase with the keyword, then you read maybe 1 or 2 sentences before and after it carefully to grasp the full context and make sure you've got the precise answer. It's disciplined. You resist the urge to read closely until you know you're in the right spot. Saves so much time.
That combination sounds really powerful. Skim for where, scan for what, then read for the details. Okay, here's a quick mini practice for you listening. Grab a short news article, anything. First, just skim it quickly. Can you sum up the main point in 1 sentence? Then, pick a number or a date mentioned in the question, or just pick one from the article. How fast can you scan to find it? Time yourself. And finally, pick 1 paragraph and read it carefully, word for word. Did you notice any small but important details you missed during your skim? It really shows how each skill works.
Great exercise. It makes the difference between the techniques really clear.
Okay, so we have the overall strategies. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. What about the specific types of questions they throw at you? How do we tackle each one strategically?
Right, because each question type needs a slightly different approach. Let's break them down. First up, true, false, not given. These trip up so many people. The definitions are super precise. True means the statement perfectly matches the information in the text. It's either stated directly or is an undeniable implication. False means the statement says the opposite of what the text says. It directly contradicts it. And not given, this is the tricky one, means the information simply isn't there. You cannot find anything in the passage to prove it true or false. Don't confuse not given with false, just because it seems unlikely. Is the info there? That's the only question.
That distinction is so key. Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say the text states, children under 12 must be accompanied by an adult. If the question is, children can visit alone if they are over 12. That's true. It logically falls from the rule for under 12s. If the question is, all children under 15 must have an adult. That's false. The text specifies under 12, not under 15. But if the question is, children enjoy visiting the museum, that's not given. The text says nothing about enjoyment, only about accompaniment rules.
Okay, crystal clear. That helps a lot. What about multiple choice? Any quick tips there?
Multiple choice. Definitely underline keywords in the question and in the options, A, B, C, D. It helps you compare accurately. Then actively eliminate the answers that are obviously wrong. Cross them out mentally or physically. It narrows your focus. And read the remaining options very carefully. Often distractors, the wrong answers, have little extra words or details thrown in that make them technically incorrect according to the text. Be precise.
Right, watch out for those little twists. Okay, matching headings. Those seem tough.
They can be. The key for matching headings is to focus on the main idea or the overall topic of each paragraph. Don't get distracted by a single example or a piece of data within the paragraph. A good tactic is to read the first sentence, maybe the last sentence, and look for repeated words or concepts throughout the paragraph. That usually points to the main theme. But a warning, Don't just match a heading because it contains the same word as the paragraph. You need to understand the overall point being made. It's about meaning, not just word spotting.
So grasp the core message of the paragraph. Got it. How about sentence completion or summary completion?
The gap fills. Rule number 1. Always, always check the word limit. No more than 2 words, for instance. Stick to it religiously. Also, try to predict what type of word is needed for the gap. A noun, a verb, an adjective. This helps you scan for the right kind of information and ensures the sentence makes grammatical sense. And a helpful pointer. The answers for these usually appear in the passage in the same order as the questions. That can really help you track through the text.
Oh, that's a great tip that the order helps navigate.
Yeah.
What about matching information, where you match a statement to a paragraph, A, B, C?
Yeah, this one requires good scanning skills. You're looking for which paragraph contains a specific detail or piece of information. The best way is usually to scan the paragraphs for proper nouns, names, places, years mentioned in the statement options. These are often easier to spot quickly. And just double check you're writing the correct paragraph letter, A, B, C, as your answer. Simple mistake to avoid.
Makes sense. Use the easy-to-spot stuff as anchors. Okay, last one. Yes, no, not given. How is that different from true, false, not given?
Good question. They look similar, but yes, no. Not given is specifically about the author's opinions or claims, not about factual information presented in the text. So yes means the statement agrees with the author's view. No means it contradicts the author's view. And not given means the author doesn't express an opinion on that specific point. The key tip here is to look for words that signal opinion. The author believes, it is suggested, the writer argues, claims. These words tell you you're dealing with the author's perspective.
Okay. So TFNG is about facts in the text, YNNG is about the author's viewpoint. Subtle but important difference. This breakdown is fantastic. It feels like we've got a toolkit for each question now, but all of this happens under time pressure, that 60-minute limit.
Yeah.
How do you manage that effectively?
Yeah, time management is non-negotiable. It's a race, pure and simple. A good pacing strategy is essential. Here's a general recommendation. Aim to spend about 15 minutes on passage 1. It's usually the easiest, so get those marks banked quickly. Then allocate around 20 minutes for passage 2, medium difficulty typically, and that leaves you about 25 minutes for passage 3, which is often the most complex and challenging. So progressively, more time for harder passages.
Within 20, 25 minutes. That sounds like a solid plan.
And crucially, try to build in maybe 2 or 3 minutes right at the very end, just to quickly check your answer sheet for any obvious spelling errors or mistakes in transferring. It's heartbreaking to lose marks to silly typos. And the absolute golden rule if you get stuck. Mark the question, skip it, and move on. Seriously, don't waste 5 minutes agonizing over one difficult question. Every question is worth 1 mark. Get the easier ones done first. You can always come back if you have time at the end. Maximize your score.
That mark it and move on advice is probably the most crucial piece of time management strategy. It saves your sanity too. And here's a quick pro tip for you listening. When you do practice tests, use a real clock or watch on your desk, not your phone. Phones are massive distraction magnets, right? You want to mimic test conditions and get used to tracking time physically.
Absolutely. Simulate the real thing as much as possible.
Okay, so we've covered strategies, question types, timing, but beyond these test-specific tactics, how do we build that underlying reading strength, that stamina? And how do we make this learning stick with a consistent routine?
Great question. Because test tricks only get you so far without a solid foundation. Building stamina is key. My best advice is simple. Read every day. Aim for maybe 20 to 30 minutes. And read diverse stuff. Don't just read IELTS passages. Read news articles, science websites, travel blogs, maybe some history. Exposure to different styles and vocabulary is invaluable. And as you read, get into the habit of noting down maybe 5 to 10 new words each day. But don't just list them. Look at how they're used in the sentence, the context. That's how vocabulary sticks. Then the cornerstone. Once a week, do a full practice test under strict time conditions. No excuses. But here's the critical part. Afterwards, don't just check your score. Go through every single answer you got wrong. Ask yourself why. Why did I pick this wrong answer? Did I misunderstand the text? Did I misapply a strategy? Was it a silly mistake? That analysis is where the real improvement happens.
That reflective practice sounds vital. Not just doing tests, but learning from them. Could you sketch out what a sample study week might look like?
Sure, just as an example, and you tailor it, of course. Maybe Monday. Focus on passage 1 practice, say 15-20 minutes, then spend time reviewing answers and the strategies used. Tuesday, dedicated vocabulary work reviewing your word list, maybe using flashcards. Plus, targeted practice on, say, 2 question types you find tricky. Wednesday, Tackle passage 2 practice, 20-25 minutes, followed by really deep analysis of any mistakes. Why did you make them? Thursday could be speed reading drills. Try skimming 3 different articles in 15 minutes, just focusing on getting the main idea fast. Maybe some scanning practice too. Friday, full practice test day, strict timing, exam conditions. Saturday, rest, or read something purely for fun, no pressure, give your brain a break. Sunday, review the week, look back at notes, revise vocabulary, and maybe do some extra practice on those question types that consistently gave you trouble during the week. It's a cycle of practice, analysis, and targeted work.
That sounds like a really solid structured approach. Build skills progressively.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's quickly bust some common myths about the IELTS reading test. There's some bad advice floating around that can really waste your time and effort.
Oh, definitely. Myth number 1. I need to understand every single word to do well. Reality? No, absolutely not. As we said, it's about understanding main ideas in the context relevant to the questions. Trying to grasp every word is inefficient and unnecessary.
Right. Focus on what matters for the answers. Myth number 2.
Myth 2. If I don't know a word, I'm going to fail the question. Reality? Again, false. Often the surrounding sentences give you enough clues to make a good guess at the meaning. Or sometimes that difficult word isn't actually essential to answering the question at all. It might just be there to test your ability to work around it.
So don't panic about occasional unknown words. And the last myth. Myth 3. I should always answer the questions in the order they appear. Reality? Absolutely not. We talked about this. It's often a terrible strategy. Prioritize. Do the questions you find easier first to secure those marks quickly, then circle back to the harder ones if time permits. Be strategic about where you spend your minutes.
Perfect. Busting those myths is so important. So the big takeaway here seems to be, you don't need perfection, you need smarts. Strategy. Approach this reading section like it's a game, almost. Focus on those keywords, scan effectively, move purposefully.
Exactly. And remember, every time you practice, especially when you analyze why you made mistakes, you get a little faster, a little sharper, a little more efficient. The key is truly to stay calm, stay focused on the task at hand, and trust the strategies. The score you want will follow from that process.
Absolutely. And here's a final thought for you to chew on as we finish up. Think about how these reading strategies we've unpacked today, skimming for the big picture, scanning for the specifics, reading carefully only when needed, how these aren't just for IELTS. How can you apply these skills in your everyday life, managing that overflowing email inbox, quickly getting the key points from a long report, even just reading the news more efficiently without getting bogged down? It's about becoming a smarter information consumer overall.
Great point. It's a life skill, really.
Practice smart, trust yourself, and keep pushing forward on your learning journey. Thanks for diving deep with us today.